Am I audible to all of you? Am I audible? Okay. So we are discussing proteins. Quickly, we will have a review of what we studied yesterday in last lecture regarding proteins. As far as their nature is concerned, they are organic in nature and these are complex nitrogenous compounds. Okay, the amount of nitrogen which is present in proteins is about 16%. Right, as far as body weight and protein content is concerned, in adults, proteins they constitute to about 20% of body weight. 20% of body weight, and we said 16% of nitrogen content. As far as differentiation of proteins from fats and carbohydrates is concerned, presence of nitrogen. This is the most important thing which is related with the proteins. Okay, and these proteins they are made up of amino acids. Okay, so as far as smaller unit which is present in proteins is concerned, these are amino acids. Okay, or we may call these amino acids as building blocks. Amino acids are building blocks of proteins. Okay, now there are certain amino acids which can be synthesized in our body. Okay, and certain amino acids which cannot be synthesized to the extent that our body needs. Okay, so accordingly we classified these amino acids as essential amino acids and non-essential amino acids. As far as essential amino acids are concerned, examples you must know, at least few examples. So it's leucine, isoleucine, lysine, it's methionine, threonine, phenylalanine, tryptophan, valine, and histidine. Okay, few names that you are supposed to know about essential amino acids. Regarding proteins, depending on the essential amino acid content, okay, we said the proteins can be biologically complete proteins or they can be biologically incomplete proteins. Okay, same thing we can say as first class proteins and second class proteins. Biologically complete proteins, they contains all essential amino acids. Okay, and these are mainly animal proteins. So these can be meat proteins, fish proteins, milk proteins. Okay, so these are biologically complete proteins. As far as biologically incomplete proteins are concerned, example under this is vegetable proteins like cereal proteins or pulse proteins. Okay, so they are lacking in either one or more essential amino acids. Hence, we are calling vegetable proteins as biologically incomplete proteins. Okay, then we discussed about biological value. So when we say biological value, the simple aspect related with this is what we compare is amino acid composition. Amino acid composition of body proteins and food proteins. There are two possibilities. Either it will resemble closely or it will differ widely. Accordingly, what we said, the foods having high biological value or the proteins having high biological value and the proteins having low biological value. As far as high biological value proteins are concerned, example again here is animal proteins. Okay, and even based on biological value, we have seen yesterday ranking. Okay, so as far as ranking is concerned, egg proteins they are superior to the milk proteins. Okay, so this is about biological value. Okay, so it can be high, it can be low depending upon the composition, amino acid composition of food proteins and body proteins. Okay, low, as far as low biological value is concerned, again example here is vegetable proteins. Okay, the most important aspect that you must not forget is the supplementary actions of proteins. As far as your 2 mark question is concerned, Okay, so regarding supplementary actions of proteins, the most important thing that you should know is limiting amino acid. Okay, the key word in your answer should be limiting amino acids. Okay, so we know that vegetable proteins are biologically incomplete proteins. Okay, so they will lack either in one or more than one essential amino acids. As far as examples is concerned, cereal proteins, okay, they are lacking in lysine and threonine. As far as pulse proteins is concerned, they are lacking in methionine. Okay, and whenever we combine the food, whenever we combine cereals, pulses, and different vegetables, these amino acids are supplemented, or these lacking essential amino acids are supplemented. This is called as supplementary action of proteins. Okay, regarding functions of proteins, most important function is growth. As far as growth is concerned, what we said is all essential amino acids, they are required for synthesis of new tissues. In relation to synthesis, you can add many more examples like synthesis of enzymes, synthesis of plasma proteins, okay, synthesis of hemoglobin. Another thing, peptide hormones, okay, different peptide hormones, they are synthesized. For synthesis of peptide hormones, proteins are required. For synthesis of blood coagulation factors, proteins are required. As far as niacin synthesis is concerned, it's tryptophan, which is precursor for synthesis of niacin. Okay, antibody synthesis, another important function related with the proteins. So it's synthesis of new tissues and many important factors in our body which can be synthesized with the help of proteins. Okay, in addition, energy. Proteins can provide energy. 1 gram of protein, it can provide 4 kilocalories of energy. As far as cold environment is concerned, proteins, they are having one more function, that is specific dynamic action. Okay, so supplementation of heat, they can supply heat. Specifically, this is related with the cold environment. Okay, this is what we discussed up till now. Now regarding classification of proteins, how proteins are classified. So proteins we can classify as simple protein. Okay, we can classify as simple protein. We can classify as conjugated proteins, and third criteria, we can say derived proteins. Okay, derived proteins. So just simple criteria based on this is simple proteins, conjugated proteins, and derived proteins. Okay, simple proteins are mainly albumin and globulin. Okay, these are the examples of simple proteins. Now, as far as derived proteins is concerned, when we break down the proteins, whatever product we'll get, like peptides or peptones, they are called as derived proteins. Okay, so we are supposed to pay attention to conjugated proteins. As far as conjugated proteins is concerned, what we can say here, protein, it is conjugated with another compound. Okay, so there is conjugation of protein and one more compound. Okay, so there are several examples. Now if I write here nucleoprotein, okay, if I say this is nucleoprotein, okay, what we can say here, protein, it is combined with nucleic acid. Okay, this is conjugation of nucleic acid and protein. Okay, if I will give you another example, if I say this is lipoprotein. Okay, lipoprotein, what we can say here? Here it is combination of lipid. Okay, here it is combination of lipid and protein. Okay, lipoprotein. Similarly, it's glycoprotein. Glycoprotein. Okay, now it's very clear. Glycoprotein, this combination will be related with the carbohydrate and protein conjugation. Okay, one more example I can give here is chromoprotein. Okay, this is chromoprotein. Now as far as chromoprotein is concerned, basically chromo here, it is color producing substance, okay, and protein. Now in our body, the color producing substance is heme, okay, so it's heme, and protein is globin. So this is hemoglobin. Example of chromoprotein in our body is hemoglobin. So there are various conjugated proteins which we can find in human body. Okay, so based on classification, what we said, proteins, we can say simple proteins, example albumin, globulin. Conjugated proteins, the common example is lipoprotein, which we are going to discuss later on in detail. Okay, or it can be chromoprotein like hemoglobin, and derived proteins. Okay, as far as derived proteins is concerned, we get this after breakdown of proteins. So these are breakdown products of proteins. One more criteria we can use depending upon the structure of the proteins. Okay, now the few proteins which are present in our body, they have elongated structure. Okay, they have elongated structure, and basically we may call these proteins as fibrous proteins. Okay, so the proteins which are having elongated structure, we can call it as fibrous proteins. The best example of this is collagen. Okay, the collagen which is present in human body. Okay, this is example of fibrous protein. One more thing, depending, here we said elongated proteins. Okay, so there is possibility that the proteins which are present in our body, they are having globular shape. Okay, they are globular in shape, or they are having three-dimensional shape. Okay, so here also the examples are same as we discussed in simple proteins. So these are albumin and globulin which are having globular shape. Okay, so based on shape we can say these are globular proteins or fibrous proteins. Okay, and another classification what we said is simple, conjugated and derived proteins. Regarding protein metabolism, okay, as far as protein metabolism is concerned, whatever proteins that we take in food, okay, whatever proteins that we take in food, they first get converted into amino acids. They get converted into amino acids. So proteins, they are absorbed only in the form of amino acids. Okay, so for this, proteins are broken down and the final end product is amino acids which is absorbed in the body. Okay, now sometimes in some situations the whole protein molecule, it is not broken, okay, and it is absorbed as it is. Okay, so we are talking about absorption of whole protein molecule. Okay, so unbroken whole protein molecule, it can be absorbed, and when this possibility is there, this is concerned with the absorption of immunoglobulins. This is concerned with absorption of immunoglobulins. To be specifically, these are the immunoglobulins which are present in colostrum. Okay, so as far as colostrum is concerned, baby's first food is concerned, the immunoglobulins which are present in colostrum, they are absorbed as it is. Okay, so and this is how passive immunity is conferred. But right now our intention is to understand absorption of proteins in unbroken form or whole protein molecule, how it is absorbed. Okay, so don't forget, immunoglobulins which are present in colostrum, they are absorbed as a whole molecule, whole protein molecule. Now regarding protein metabolism, there are three important things and it is very essential to understand. Okay, now as far as storage of energy is concerned, okay, here we are talking about storage of energy. You know that energy, it is stored in adipose tissues. Okay, so our body has energy store in adipose tissues, or simply we can say whatever excess energy we are taking, it is stored. But if you talk about protein storage. Okay, proteins are not stored in our body. Proteins are not stored in our body. Now, since our body don't have protein storage, it is very, very essential that proteins must be supplied every day. Okay, so that protein replacement is very essential. So every day, whatever protein requirement is there, it should be fulfilled through the diet. Okay, so this is the most important aspect which is related with the protein metabolism. Okay, so since we said body don't have protein storage, okay, hence proteins must be replaced every day, or whatever protein requirement is there, it should be fulfilled every day. Okay, there is one more thing that is related with the protein metabolism. Okay, whatever different proteins are there, they are broken down. Okay, they are constantly broken down into amino acids. Okay, and again, whatever amino acids they are formed after breaking down of proteins, they are used for further synthesis of proteins. Okay, so this is, we call it as turnover of protein. Okay, there is continuous turnover of proteins which is done in our body. Okay, so what we said, proteins, they will break down into amino acids, and amino acids further body will utilize for synthesis of proteins. Okay, so this turnover is continuously going on, and depending on different types of tissues, this rate of turnover may vary. Okay, so this is another feature related with the metabolism. Okay, third important feature, if our body wants to utilize proteins at optimal level, or maximum utilization of proteins is required, in that case, whatever calorie intake is there, okay, whatever calories that a person consume, it must be adequate. Okay, so adequate calorie intake is very essential. Then and then only proteins can perform optimum level of their function. Okay, so adequate calorie intake is essential. Daily supplementation of protein is very essential, and you should know that constant turnover of proteins, it is going on in our body. Okay, so three things we said: no storage in our body, hence daily replacement is essential, continuous turnover is there, and for optimum utilization or maximum utilization of the proteins that we are taking through diet, okay, of the proteins that we are taking through diet, in addition to protein intake, adequate calorie intake is also essential. Okay, what are different sources of proteins? Okay, so another 2 mark question. Here you are supposed to know sources of proteins. So if protein sources are asked, the first thing that you should enlist is animal sources. Now you know the basic sources we divide as animal sources and vegetable sources. So as far as these sources are concerned, first what you should mention is animal sources. Now, why this is so? Because now you know that whatever animal sources of proteins are there, they are biologically complete. They are providing all essential amino acids to us. Okay. Secondly, they are having high biological value, and they are having high digestibility. Okay. High digestibility. The meaning of digestibility here is what protein amount we take in our diet and the amount of amino acids which are absorbed in the blood. Okay, so as far as digestibility is concerned, it is also high. So that's why first you should enlist about animal sources. As far as animal sources is concerned, it's meat. Try to maintain this sequence if it is possible. Fish, then you can mention about eggs, and then you can mention about milk. Okay, so we said meat, fish, eggs, milk. In addition to that, you can say milk products like cheese also. Okay, now here I want to clear one more thing. There are different studies are conducted in nutrition. Okay, in relation to the proteins. Okay, now for this, it is essential to use some proteins as reference proteins. Okay, some proteins are used as reference proteins, and whatever different nutritional studies are conducted out of these meat, fish, egg and milk proteins, what we use, these are egg proteins. Okay, so this is another important to understand. Egg proteins, they are used as reference proteins as far as different nutritional studies are conducted. Okay, so what we said regarding sources here, animal sources. Okay, significance of animal sources, they contains all essential amino acids, so that you should not forget, and hence we are calling these as biologically complete proteins. Okay, next part, as far as plant sources or vegetable sources is concerned. Okay, as far as vegetable sources is concerned, here the first thing that should be mentioned is pulses. You can mention pulses first, then you can mention legumes, and then you can mention about cereals, nuts and oil seeds. Okay, and in vegetable sources, the one of the rich source is soya bean. One of the rich source is soya bean. Okay, but again its bioavailability is less. Okay, digestibility is less as compared to animal proteins. Okay, so what we said regarding sources, animal sources, meat, fish, eggs, milk, cheese. Out of these egg proteins, we are using as reference proteins. Okay, from vegetable sources, these are mainly pulses, legumes, cereals, nuts and oil seeds, and most important source is soya bean. Okay, next part to understand related with the proteins is evaluation of proteins. Okay, evaluation of proteins. Now, if we have knowledge related with the proteins, and this is concerned only with the amino acid content. Okay, हमें इतना ही पता है कि कितने amino acids है. So only this information is not sufficient to evaluate proteins. Okay, so in addition to this, definitely for evaluating the proteins, we are talking here about the quality of proteins. Okay, our intention is to evaluate quality of proteins. Okay, so if we have knowledge related with the amino acid content, only this is not sufficient. So in addition, we should know its digestibility and we should know its suitability. Okay, so this is suitability is ability of the food proteins to supply essential amino acids. Okay, so we must know whether the food article that we are consuming, whether it is digestible, whether it is able to supply all essential amino acids. Okay, in addition to amino acid content, this information is necessary. Okay, so based on this, what we can say, the nutritional quality of different food proteins, it will differ. Okay, because amino acid content of different proteins will be different, or different food articles will differ. Digestibility of different sources of proteins will differ. Okay, ability to supply essential amino acids will differ. As we know, animal foods, they are going to provide us all essential amino acids, whereas vegetable foods, unless and until they are properly combined, they won't supply all essential amino acids. Okay, so the practical aspect to understand here is the food proteins, they may differ in their nutritional quality. Okay, and this difference will be related to their amino acid content, it will be related to their digestibility, and it will be related to their ability to supply essential amino acids. Now there are certain parameters that we can use for evaluation of quality of proteins. Okay, so for evaluation of protein quality, what different parameters we can use? First is we can estimate biological value of proteins. Okay, so initially in intro we just said high biological value and low biological value. So exact biological value can be estimated. Okay, secondly we can estimate a digestibility coefficient. Digestibility coefficient, it is concerned with the amount of amino acids that are absorbed and the amount of protein intake. Okay, so this is related with the digestibility. The third parameter that we can use, this is abbreviated as PER. Okay, PER, here it stands for protein efficiency ratio. Okay, and the most important term is NPU, that is net protein utilization. Okay, so these are the four different parameters that we can use for evaluation of protein quality. Okay, so before I proceed, I will just end this meeting and you please rejoin. Okay. Am I audible to all of you? Am I audible? Okay. So we are discussing about how to evaluate protein quality and what different parameters we can use for this purpose. Okay, we can estimate biological value, we can estimate digestibility coefficient, we can calculate protein efficiency ratio, and even we can calculate net protein utilization. Okay, there is one more terminology in relation to evaluation is assessment of proteins. So as far as assessment of proteins is concerned, here what we assess again, it is related with assessment of quality and assessment of quantity of proteins. Okay, same parameters are there, just one more parameter added here. If our intention is to assess protein quality in addition to net protein utilization, we can use one more parameter which is known as amino acid score. Okay, so that is nothing but amino acid content. Okay, and for quantity, it's PER. Okay, that is protein efficiency ratio, which is helpful for assessment of quantity also and quality also. Now let's first see what is amino acid score. Okay, so as far as amino acid score is concerned, basically this score will help us to estimate quality of protein. Okay, with the help of amino acid score, what we can do, we can estimate protein quality. Okay, this is very simple thing. Okay, right now we talked about reference proteins. Okay, so what we are supposed to see here, we measure the content or the concentration of essential amino acids in test protein. Whatever food article we want to test it, okay, we can take that food article, we can take reference protein as egg protein. Right now you know that for nutritional studies, whatever reference proteins we use, these are mainly egg proteins. Okay, so every time we are comparing this with the reference protein. तो हमें क्या करना है यहाँ पे, हमें देखना है amino acid content, and this amino acid score, it can be calculated for each amino acid. Okay, so we can calculate it for lysine, we can calculate it for isoleucine, like that. Okay, for different essential amino acids we can calculate it. तो इसके लिए हमें क्या करना है, what we see the amount or the concentration of essential amino acid which is present in test protein and what amount is present in reference protein. Okay, this amino acid score, it is expressed in percentage. Okay, इसका unit जो है, this is percentage. Since it is expressed in percentage, our multiplier here is 100. Okay, so what formula we can make, if you know this information, that what we are supposed to test is amino acid content in test protein and we are comparing this with the reference protein. Okay, so what we will need for this, 1 ग्राम ऑफ टेस्ट प्रोटीन में कितने अमीनो एसिड्स है, कितने मिलीग्राम में है वो देखना है, एंड रेफरेंस प्रोटीन में वो पर्टिकुलर अमीनो एसिड के कितने मिलीग्राम्स है, that we are supposed to see. Okay, so test protein is our numerator and reference protein is our denominator. Multiplier here is 100. Okay, so whatever value we get of amino acid score which decides the protein quality of the food proteins, okay, or the test protein, okay, we will express it in percentage. Okay, is it clear? This is expressed as percentage. Whatever value we are getting, उसका जो यूनिट रहेगा वो परसेंटेज रहेगा. यूनिट परसेंटेज में है इसलिए मल्टीप्लायर 100 है. ओके, देखना हमें सिर्फ ये है 1 ग्राम टेस्ट प्रोटीन में कितने मिलीग्राम अमीनो एसिड के हैं और 1 ग्राम रेफरेंस प्रोटीन में कितने मिलीग्राम अमीनो एसिड्स के हैं. ओके, सो दिस इज अबाउट अमीनो एसिड स्कोर. इफ यू सी दिस अमीनो एसिड स्कोर फॉर animal foods, okay, or animal proteins, for animal foods this amino acid score, it varies between 70 to 80. So this is 70 to 80% that we can find amino acid score of animal protein. We are talking vaguely about animal proteins. Okay, and for starches, if we take starch, for starches this value is less. This is between 50 to 60%. Okay, this is between 50 to 60%. Okay, so from amino acid score parameter, again it becomes very clear that animal foods animal foods, they are having better quality as compared to the starches or vegetable food. Okay, so is it clear with amino acid score? The quality we can assess with the help of amino acid score. Okay, just we should have to pay attention to the amino acid content in test protein and reference protein. The second parameter, it is PER. It is protein efficiency ratio. Okay, so what we said, it is protein efficiency ratio. This is also called as protein energy percentage. Okay, this is also called as protein energy percentage. Now since we are saying it is protein energy percentage, again the value of PER, it is expressed in terms of percentage. Okay, we are going to express value in percentage. Now here our focus is on energy. Okay, we pay attention to the energy. So this is evaluation of quality of protein, which is based on the amount of energy supplied by the protein. Okay, so here energy which is obtained from protein is our numerator. Okay, and whatever total energy we consumed in the diet is the denominator. Okay, तो total energy consumption कितना है, उसमें से प्रोटीन से कितनी एनर्जी हमें मिली है. ओके, सो एनर्जी फ्रॉम प्रोटीन divided by total energy in the diet, okay, multiplied by 100, we can get the value. This value we are going to call it as protein efficiency ratio, or we can call it as protein energy percentage. Okay, so ideally this value, it should be more than 4%. Okay, it should be more than 4%, right? So protein ratio, it should be more than 4%. But what is the recommendation? As far as a recommendation is concerned, okay, the protein, whatever protein we take, whatever amount of energy which is supplemented by protein, approximately it should be 10 to 12%. Okay, so whatever total energy we take, out of that 10% to 12% energy should be supplied from proteins. This is a recommendation. Okay, and the value, it should be more than 4%. Okay, so is it clear? Protein efficiency ratio, here attention we are paying only to energy. Okay, total energy in our diet, out of that the amount of energy that we get from proteins. Okay, and it should be 10 to 12%. The next parameter is biological value. The formula which you can see here is not given by K-Park, so don't focus on this formula. Just try to understand the concept. Okay, so as far as the few abbreviations which you can see here, biological value, BV stands for biological value. I, it is a nitrogen intake. Okay, you can find F. F is fecal nitrogen. You can find one more later in the formula. This is U. U is urinary nitrogen. Okay, and you can find F0 and U0. Okay, so F0, U0 यहाँ पे क्या है? So it is fecal and urinary nitrogen excreted from those subjects, okay, to whom nitrogen free diet is given. Okay, we won't go in details of this formula, but just try to understand when we calculate biological value, we pay attention to what. Okay, here also multiplier is 100. Okay, so here what we see, the amount of nitrogen which is retained in the body. ओके, कितना नाइट्रोजन का अमाउंट बॉडी में रिटेन हुआ है फ्रॉम द अमाउंट ऑफ नाइट्रोजन एब्जॉर्ब्ड इन आवर बॉडी. ओके, सो डाइट में प्रोटीन लिए, उसमें से एब्जॉर्ब कितना हुआ है, और फ्रॉम एब्जॉर्ब्ड वैल्यू रिटेन्ड बॉडी में कितना हुआ है फॉर मेंटेनेंस ऑफ ग्रोथ. ओके, फॉर द फंक्शन ऑफ ग्रोथ एंड मेंटेनेंस ऑफ body tissues or repair of body tissues. Okay, so biological value, it is concerned with the amount of nitrogen which is absorbed. Okay, so that is denominator. Okay, नीचे जो आएगा वो रहेगा absorbed nitrogen और जो numerator है that is the amount of nitrogen which is retained in our body. Okay, this is multiplied by 100. Okay, formula won't be asked to you, just try to understand the concept. When we talk about the biological value, what we see, what amount of nitrogen is retained in our body from the total amount of nitrogen which is absorbed from the food. Okay, now this biological value, it is different for different proteins. Okay, so definitely biological value will differ, and if you see, it's in decreasing order. Okay, so basically animal products, they are having high biological value as compared to legumes. Okay, if you pay attention to legumes, they will have low biological value if you compare with animal products, but the same legumes, if you compare with cereals, they will have high biological value. Same for the cereals. Okay, if you compare legumes and cereals, they are having low biological value. And if you compare this with the roots, okay, so roots, they are having low biological value than roots. Roots, they will have low biological value than cereals. Okay, so what we said, in decreasing order, biological value of different proteins, you can say animal products, legumes, followed by cereals, followed by roots. Yeah, another important terminology is net protein utilization. Okay, so as far as net protein utilization is concerned, this may be asked as 2-mark question. It had been asked in university exam. So out of the parameters which we discussed, amino acid score, protein efficiency ratio, net protein utilization can be asked for your exam. Okay, so as far as net protein utilization is concerned, again here we are talking about the nitrogen. Okay, here we are talking about nitrogen, and what we say here, the amount of nitrogen which is retained by our body. Okay, and total intake of nitrogen. Okay, नाइट्रोजन का इंटेक कितना है, उसमें से कितना नाइट्रोजन बॉडी में रिटेन हुआ है. Okay, multiplier here is 100. Multiplier is 100. Okay, so as far as this calculation is concerned, net protein utilization, basically for calculating this, special laboratories are required. Okay, and based on this, what we can do, net protein utilization, it help us to evaluate the protein quality, or it help us to assess the quality of the proteins. Okay, so we can evaluate proteins, or we can assess protein as far as their quality is concerned based on net protein utilization. So here what we see, what is the total intake of nitrogen and the amount of nitrogen which is retained in the body. Okay, multiplied by 100. So basically, what is significance of this net protein utilization? So whatever dietary requirement of proteins is there, okay, we are talking about dietary requirement of protein, it depends on NPU. Okay, whatever dietary requirements of protein is there, it is related with net protein utilization. If this value of net protein utilization is low, okay, NPU का वैल्यू अगर कम आता है, तो प्रोटीन का रिक्वायरमेंट क्या रहेगा? Definitely protein requirement will be high. Okay, protein requirement will be high. Okay, we are talking about NPU का वैल्यू अगर कम मिलता है तो प्रोटीन की रिक्वायरमेंट ज़्यादा होगी, एंड इट्स वाइस वर्सा. अगर नेट प्रोटीन यूटिलाइजेशन हाई है तो प्रोटीन रिक्वायरमेंट विल बी लेस. Okay, as far as Indian diet is concerned, if we talk about the diet of Indian people and net protein utilization, okay, this varies between 50 to 80. It varies between 50 to 80. Okay, so this is the net protein utilization for Indian diet, which varies from 50 to 80. So don't forget this formula, or what is net protein utilization. Definitely this parameter will help us to evaluate quality of protein, or it will help in assessment of quality of protein. Okay, for this what we consider is the amount of nitrogen intake and the amount of nitrogen retained by our body. Okay, what is utility of this net protein utilization? It is related with the dietary requirement. Okay, and if the value of NPU is low, the protein requirement is high, and if value is high, protein requirement is less. Okay, as far as Indian diet is concerned, the variation of NPU you can see between 50 to 80. Yeah, this is practical aspect which is related with the assessment of protein nutrition status. Now, if we want to assess nutritional status of the person in relation to proteins only, okay, so here there are different tests that can be done. First one is we can measure circumference of arm muscles. Okay, regarding this we are going to talk in detail when we study protein energy malnutrition. Okay, as far as second parameter is concerned, this is creatinine height index. Okay, creatinine height index. So here we calculate a ratio. Okay, and the ratio, as we are saying ratio, and in formula you can see two things. Okay, so what we see here is urinary excretion of creatinine. Okay, we'll have to see the amount of creatinine excreted in the urine. Okay, ratio hai to creatinine is numerator, and height if you take in centimeter, this is denominator. Okay, so this is just a ratio which is calculated of creatinine excretion through urine to the height of the person in centimeter. Okay, what is practical aspect of this? Okay, no need to memorize this ratio and all the things. As far as this index, creatinine height index is concerned, it reflects the muscle mass. Okay, it is suggestive of muscle mass, and whenever this is reduced, there are two possibilities. One thing is the diet is deficient in protein. Okay, so protein का intake कम है, reduced protein intake है, या फिर second possibility is there can be depletion of proteins. Okay, body से proteins depleted है. Okay, so this is creatinine height index. Third parameter is we can measure serum albumin level and serum transferrin level. Again, serum albumin in detail we are going to talk in protein energy malnutrition. But whenever this serum albumin level, it is less than, whenever you will find that level of serum albumin is less than 3, it is less than 3 grams per deciliter. Okay, if it is less than 3 grams per deciliter, definitely this child we are going to consider as severely malnourished child. Okay, there are different other things that we will discuss later on in detail. Okay, regarding serum albumin. As far as transferrin is concerned, so transferrin, it tells us about the ability of our body to synthesize proteins. Okay, initially we said there is continuous turnover going on. Okay, so this parameter will help us to understand the ability of liver to synthesize proteins. Okay, in addition, we will just have question answers later on. You can please message me, Rijwan. Yeah, so what we said, different parameters that we can use for assessment of protein nutrition status. Okay, we can measure arm circumference, we can take creatinine height index, we can measure serum albumin level, serum transferrin level, and even we can measure total body nitrogen. What is requirement of protein? What amounts of proteins are required? Okay, now as far as protein requirement is concerned, and initial lectures are concerned regarding adult requirement, already we have discussed this. Okay, so as far as adults are concerned, the protein requirement is 1 gram, right? 1 gram per kg body weight. Okay, so what we are supposed to see, body weight, whatever total body weight is there. Okay, if the adult weighing 50 kg, the requirement of this adult will be 50 gram. Okay, so that person should take daily 50 grams of proteins. Okay, another important thing is pregnancy and lactation. Okay, increased requirement is seen during pregnancy and during lactation. So as far as pregnancy requirement is concerned, whatever daily routine intake is there, whatever daily recommendation is there, to that additional proteins should be added. Okay, so extra 14 grams per day should be added. Now here we are not talking in kg. Okay, so every day whatever the daily requirement of that pregnant woman is there, that will depend on her weight. Okay, to that we are supposed to add 14 grams. Okay, and if you talk during lactation, lactational need is definitely more. This is 25 grams per day which should be added extra to the diet of lactating women. Okay, and whenever you will give advice to pregnant women regarding increased intake, okay, so simultaneously what foods you are supposed to suggest, that must provide all essential amino acids. So attention should be paid that these pregnant and lactating women, they should get all essential amino acids. So additional supplementation of 14 gram daily during pregnancy and additional supplementation of 25 gram daily during lactation is essential. One more thing to understand, protein requirement will vary depending upon the age. Okay, it varies for boys and girls. Now as far as boys and girls is concerned, if you talk between 10 to 18 years age group, okay, the protein requirement is more in boys as compared to girls. Okay, so different values are given, but just remember protein requirement during the age group 18 to 10 to 18 for boys is more as compared to girls. Okay, physiological conditions, already we talked about pregnancy and lactation where there is increased demand. Okay, in addition other factors where protein requirement may get altered. Okay, so these can be different infections, this can be worm infestations. Okay, or when the person is in stressful situation. Okay, or when the person is emotionally disturbed, so many factors are there which can alter the protein requirement. Okay, but at least remember, for adults it is 1 gram per kg body weight, additional supplementation of 14 gram during pregnancy and 25 grams during lactation. Okay, now I just request CR to start with the attendance. Yeah, one thing, Ruman, one more candidate added only in second session. First session 54 candidates were there. In second, one more. So we'll have to find who is this. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. 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 Yes. Okay. हाँ बट रेशमी बहुत लेट ज्वाइन करती है. जस्ट warn her once. Okay. For today we will consider it, but henceforth she should follow the time guideline. Yeah. And Aniket joined both sessions. I don't remember. Okay. So we'll have revision from these students tomorrow. So they will give some answers to me. Yeah. And Rijwan, you can message. Rijwan, you can message me your query. Yeah. Okay. Thank